Hello. Hi, everyone. If you can hear me, either do like a wave or write in the chat box that you're here. Hi. I see you, Camilla, Noemi, Mia, Crystal. Cool. We have so many people on with us today. I see you, Debbie. Awesome. Yay. Wow, we already have 100 people. It's only been a minute. Nice. Let's see. Yay. So awesome. Let me know where you're coming from. We're based out of Boston. So if you're in Texas or in the States, I know we have like a few worldwide people sometimes. We have Toronto, Netherlands, Montana, Alabama, Nashville, New York, Colorado, Mexico City, Trinidad. Wow, cool. A lot of people from Mexico, LA. Oh, I see you. I'm from LA too, so I always get excited when I see people from SoCal in our webinars. Nice. Oh my goodness. Oh, we even have people from Panama. Wow. Cool. Yay. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. We're going to give it a few more minutes and just wait for everybody to join us. But today we're going to be talking about how Planoly and StoriesEdit can help your planning process for your stories, make it a little bit better, help you organize everything, and what you need to do to make your stories a lot better. So if right off the bat you have any questions that you would like for me to answer, or any like maybe issues that you have about stories, that if you have had like probably like a creative block coming up with content for your brand, either if you have a business or if you're a content creator, an influencer, whatever it may be. Very curious to hear what has been your experience with stories. If you haven't, actually, let's start off with a poll. I always love to start off with a poll. So let's do a quick question. Let's see. I just want to know how many of you guys use stories. On your content strategy. Okay. So I'm gonna launch a quick poll. I'm gonna give you guys about maybe even less, maybe like 3 minutes to just give me your insight on whether you use stories, if it's not for you, if you're looking to add stories to your strategy, or need more inspiration for stories. I'm very curious to hear what you guys have to say. And you guys are voting a lot. Yay. So let's go to the chat and hear from people. So Melinda says, I film stories but don't actively use them for my business. A few people say that they use them, use it more than normal posts. That's totally normal. I use stories. I'm actually more on stories. Even my personal accounts, I'm more on stories that I'm on my actual grid. And that's totally okay. Liz says she's never used it. Crystal says, I do a few stories a week, but struggling with content and creativity. We all deal with that. We all deal with like content blocks, creative blocks. So hopefully after this webinar, you'll be able to come up with a few more ideas to actually grow your accounts and actually create engaging content that your audience wants to hear. So we have, I use stories, but never used on Planoly. So we'll go over that. Using stories with Planoly is going to definitely help you organize everything, have a game plan set in stone for what you're actually going to post. And we can hopefully help you with that along with StoriesEdit, our newest product. I will say, if you guys haven't downloaded StoriesEdit, our newest product, I definitely encourage everybody to download it. We just launched it last month during South by Southwest here in Austin, and it was really exciting, and we've grown so much. Raise your hand if you actually use StoriesEdit. If you haven't, please let me know. Very curious on hearing. But yeah, with StoriesEdit and Planoly joined together, we're going to help you make your content strategy even better. Hay says, I tried using StoriesEdit from Planoly. It's a little bit confusing, customize them, I find. So no worries at all. I will actually walk you through the entire process to make it a little bit less confusing. Should be pretty straightforward. Jess says, I'm a marketing manager for 5 restaurants and use them 3 to 4 times a week. I don't usually have creative block, but I do schedule them ahead of time. Amazing. As you should. I mean, even if you know what you're going to be posting, you should definitely plan out ahead of time, either using Planoly or using StoriesEdit, whatever it may be. Have a game plan set in stone for what you're actually going to post. Because when you make your plan, you work your plan. I never use a story feature on Planoly. I just create my own and post directly. That's good too. I mean, you don't have to use the story feature, but I will say that if you do have content that you probably had from, you know, maybe weeks ago or days ago, and you just wanted to have it queued on your grid or for your feed, then you should definitely use StoriesEdit, so that way you already have, you know what you're going to be posting, you know at what time you're going to post, the captions, any links that you may have, all of that. Our stories planner definitely will help with that. Cool. So awesome. I'll go ahead and end the poll. It's been 3 minutes. So majority of you guys already use stories in your content strategy. Nobody said not for me. Surprisingly, because the last time I said I did a poll like this, some people said that it's not for them. That's the only reason why I included it. A lot of people were thinking that, you know, they're camera shy. They're probably, you know, it's not something that they feel comfortable doing because they just don't know where to start. They feel like their audience isn't engaged on stories. But I'm glad nobody feels that way here. And I'm glad that for those who probably don't use it, you're looking to add stories to your strategy, or you need more engagement, more inspiration to create engaging stories. So awesome. Actually, let's see if we can share these results with everybody. Yeah, awesome. So thanks for voting, everybody. And hopefully after this, we'll just have a little bit more clarity. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in on the Q&A little button down here. I'll go ahead and try to answer some during the webinar, mostly at the end of the webinar. And if I don't get to answer your questions, then you can just email me. My email is priscilla@planoly.com, or you can just DM us on Instagram @Planoly. We're always responding on there. So yeah, with that said, let's get started. Let's do my share screen. Up. All right. Actually, can everybody see my screen? I've like dealt with a few issues where sometimes people can't see my screen. So let me know if you can see my screen. Perfect. Awesome. Okay, let's get started. So here we'll be going over making stories planning even easier. Like I mentioned, the whole point is having a game plan. For us, I mean, Planoly is based on planning. It's the importance of having to see, like having what knowing what your grid is going to look like before you start posting, knowing what you're going to post, so that way you're not at 12 p.m. on a Tuesday thinking, oh man, what am I going to post again today? I know I need to post stories. I used to be a content strategist, and I worked in agencies before. So there was before Planoly, sorry. There was many times where I found myself in that kind of moment where I didn't know what I needed to post, or I forgot, or I needed to go to my spreadsheet to see what I needed to post. So the whole point is to make your life a little bit easier, so you're not caught in the moment of being, oh, what I need to post today. That's just the importance of planning. But with stories, the same thing applies to it in terms of how stories is so important within your social media strategy. Many people think that, oh, stories is just, you know, like a copy a Snapchat and it's all just fleeting content. And of course, yes, it's fleeting content, but Instagram has allowed us to definitely maximize our use of stories in a way that, you know, if you are catering to Gen Zers, I'm not entirely sure how Snapchat works nowadays. I don't know if there's like a highlights type format, and correct me if I'm wrong, but with stories, you can do so much that actually aligns your entire content strategy. And there, like, for me, the importance of stories and a few things that you need to know is that there is a very, very active user base for Instagram stories on a daily basis. So there's 500 million active users daily, which is half of Instagram's 1 billion plus users. And it's constantly growing. So this was just a stat off of like maybe December, January this year. So it's constantly growing, and people are constantly, you know, understanding that there's so much power in stories, and more people are starting to become active. And I'm sure everybody who's probably hasn't been so active in Instagram stories today in this webinar are probably going to add to that 500 million plus. And it's just like, you know, goes to show how powerful it is. And also Instagram is growing as a hub, not just for photos. I know that this is how Instagram started, you know, it's very visual, but it's growing for videos too. And, you know, watch time is going up 80% year over year. And the number of videos being shared is up four times. So this isn't just for stories. Of course, most stories is either, you know, still photos or videos, but even with IGTV and IG videos, you know, that's something that's becoming a lot more shareable within Instagram, and a lot of more brands and people are understanding that they need to create video content in order to create a larger audience, cater to a larger audience, and create content that's actually going to be shareable and be shared, or, you know, among all the followers and their network. So with video, you can definitely see even more engagement than your standalone photos. And advertisers and marketers are seeing the power in stories, so they're definitely, you know, adding more of a higher ad spend thanks to stories just for Instagram. So now Instagram, for a lot of these ad agencies, Instagram accounts for 23% of their total ad spend, and a lot of that is attributed to stories. And then even Facebook has said that there are more than 2 million monthly active advertisers on stories ads, and they're using this format to drive like results across the customer journey, from awareness to the actual purchase. So now every, you know, probably 3 to 4 stories from the people we follow, we'll see an ad, but those ads are 10 times more engaging than what we'll see within, you know, our actual feed, or even like, you know, traditional advertising. These are actually engaging content that kind of, you know, pique our interest while we're viewing all of our, you know, stories from the people that we follow. And then it'll kind of, people are understanding you need to visually stand out. And if you're going to stand out, it's within stories, within those, you know, 5 to 15 seconds that you have to grab somebody's attention. So it's definitely worth putting your money into Instagram stories ads. So whether it be just content for Instagram ads, stories isn't something that's kind of like an option or a novelty for some brands to use. It's now a requirement. I believe that the best brands that have grown through social are the ones that are definitely maximizing their use through stories and like really allowing them to, or allowing themselves to create amazing content through stories, and if it is 5 to 7 stories on their feed. So simply put, without stories, your brand's growth will plateau. If you've seen that you haven't been growing, like, what is it that your brand can offer to your audience through stories and very snackable content that's going to keep them engaged and interested and want to watch again and again? This is why stories is very, very important. So one thing that's really, like, there's many ways to actually create stories content. You can definitely put, you know, there's many, I've seen a few ads and they're like, sale this weekend, 30% off on our products, use code blah, blah, blah. Great. I get it. You're trying to sell me something. But the one thing that really resonates with people, I mean, I don't know about you, but for me, the one type of content that definitely I've seen grow, like, or be the most successful, even for myself, like even when I'm looking at content and being a consumer, is a content that is educational and editorial content that's educational within stories. And many brands know how to really do this. So the key is to, not only provide editorial or educational content, but it's providing value to your audience with the content that you're giving them. So if they're already following you, it's possible that they're already buying from you. They've already bought your product, or they might be on the fence about it and they followed you, so they want to learn a little bit more. The one thing with social, people don't like being sold to. People hate all of a sudden, oh, I'm being sold, or like off the bat, it's like, buy me now, buy this, buy that, buy that. That's why we have infomercials for. And I don't know how successful infomercials are in this day and age, but that same strategy should not apply to Instagram. So with Instagram stories and any content that you provide value to your audience, your content it's up to you it's up to your content to do three things. It's one, deepen their brand loyalty to you. I think a brand that does this really well is Glossier, in the sense that, they create a beautiful content. It's inspiring, it's aspirational. It kind of leaves people to feel like they're part of of a brand, because Glossier doesn't feel so out of reach to what they can be if they buy a product. So people feel really, attached to them because of the content that they're posting. They're relatable, they're beautiful, and they're also creating stories that highlight their audience. So it feels like, okay, like this brand actually appreciates their customer. So I will, I'm going to have some type of brand loyalty to them. And that's why they've been so successful and have been a social media unicorn. Next, you want to let them know why they should trust you against other competing brands. There's so many brands across the space that are, competing for each other. And a great example is furniture. So brands like Casper, Purple, a lot of these box mattress companies are kind of vying for the same type of audience, especially the millennial audience that, is trying to, is probably moving and is getting a new bed, or they're in need of a new bed. All these brands are kind of fighting for the same type of audience. So the way that they're differentiating themselves is allowing themselves to know why their audiences should trust them over the others. And it's not of a kind of, oh, you should buy Casper because Purple is blah, blah, blah. They're showing why they should trust them because of how they work, showing them how easy their products are to use, how, how this product makes their life easier, the benefits of this product. So it's not outright calling the competitors, but it's showing all the benefits that it is to have, to buy from this one product against all the others. And that's how you stand out and make that into content. And then another thing that your content is supposed to do is drive engagement. So of course, likes, comments, and shares. That's a no-brainer. But when you create content, think of it like a post that says, this weekend only, use code blah, blah, blah for 30% off. Great, cool. That's okay, shareable. But if it is some type of content that, for example, campaign is showing how to easily put together their furniture, and shows okay, this is how easy it is to use. If I'm thinking, oh, my friends are trying to look for furniture too, I'm going to share this with them and show them how easy it is to use. So that way they don't have to spend hours assembling a piece of furniture, and can just do it easily by buying this product. That it doesn't just go for how-tos or anything, but more informational stuff too. Maybe something that your audience was wanting to know. Anything for, if it is an interview that shares somebody that's relevant to your brand. For example, something that we do here at Planoly, we do Planoly, our Planoleader series, and they're interviews with digital marketers and digital professionals within the space that use us, and they give us great, amazing tips and we'll go ahead and share it on our stories within our grid. And those pieces of content that actually have like snackable nuggets that people can actually implement into their own content strategies, that's what's shareable, because that's actually useful for them. And it doesn't matter if it's coming from, you know, whatever, if it's coming from them or us, that it doesn't matter. They care about the information, and that's what they're going to hold on to. So why not just give them that as your brand? Because then that actually kind of builds this brand awareness. And the more that you give them that snackable content, the more that you give them that informational content, the more that they're going to come back to you and see, oh, hey, Planoly always has these interviews, and they always have these great, you know, tidbits and tips that I can actually use within my own content strategy. Of course, I'm going to keep going to them. So use the same strategy for your own brand. Whatever you can hone in on your own expertise, be it you or your network, then go ahead and use that as content and give it to your audience. And you will see that the likes, comments, and shares will definitely fall in. It will definitely set you aside from all the competitors, and then definitely deepen that brand loyalty with your audience. So give them the kind of content that you know is going to be shared, like I mentioned. And with all of that, your channels and your content is just going to grow exponentially. So when you're creating valuable content, you have to ask yourself a few things. One, is it interesting? I know sometimes we can be a little bit biased and think, oh yeah, of course this is interesting, but I think we need to take off our like blinders and actually step out of the box and really ask ourselves, and even our peers, our friends, whoever it may be that can give you actual constructive criticism, is it interesting? Once you get those answers, then you can actually like test out your content first before you actually send it out to the rest of your audience. Two, is it shareable? Like I mentioned earlier, you have to make sure that the content you're actually creating can give you some type of ROI in terms of shareability, in terms of the audience that you're actually going to reach to beyond your following. So think about if it's shareable. And is it something that your audience will want to save? Another kind of stat that we've started looking at, and if you have an Instagram business account, you can definitely see your insights and see how many people have shared your content. So that's another factor that goes into your entire engagement. It's no longer just likes and comments. You have to look at your likes, comments, saves, and shares. I think once you put all those together, you can definitely have a better understanding of your engagement and see how your content works for you. And then, of course, is it followable? And in that sense, I mean, okay, if somebody, for example, I'm barely hearing about your brand, I ended up seeing a story on a stories ad on my feed, and then it looks, like for example, this morning I saw a linen company from Australia show up on my Instagram ads, and I'm actually in the market for linen sheets, so I looked at their feed. Oh, maybe like I'll find a better price for what I'm looking for. And their feed was beautiful. Their feed was just so beautiful. It was just like the grid was just, all the colors were bright. It set such inspiration for home decor. And for me, I wanted to follow them. I had never heard of this brand. They just showed up on my Instagram stories ads, and I wanted to follow them because they had such a beautiful feed that I could use as inspiration for my own apartment. So think of it like that. Think of it like it's kind of like a two-way channel. If you're introducing your stories ads, what's going to catch their attention to actually make them want to go to your actual feed, and what is your feed going to look like that's going to make them want to follow you? Think of it in those two terms, and once you have that formula nailed down for what your content's going to be, then you will see more follows come in. So ask yourself all these things, and you'll see that you're actually tapping into valuable content. So here's a few examples of valuable content. First one, listicles. Listicles are kind of the content that you see on BuzzFeed, like the 15 ways to do this, or like the 10 Game of Thrones characters that you probably are most relatable to, something like that. Anything that you feel is actually taps into what's trending in the current space, or is relevant to your brand, or is something that your audience is looking for. Give them that content with a listicle and tap into your own expertise and give them that content. Next is advice columns. So a lot of brands do this, especially with the question sticker, where they'll do an AMA, or they'll bring in an expert, and then they'll go ahead and do an AMA session with a given expert and have the audience actually give the, like, ask their questions. And then either the brand or whoever is the expert that they brought in will answer all the questions. And this builds kind of like a, a two-way channel, an actual two-way channel with the audience and whoever is giving advice, because that's something that the audience actually wants to hear. So if they're giving their questions, make sure you're definitely answering. They want to hear your expertise, so definitely give it to them with advice columns. Next, how-tos, infographics, and tutorials. These are always, if you have a product that, maybe your audience has certain questions about how to use, or they need inspiration on how to use it, how-tos, infographics, and tutorials are the perfect way to do this. And a lot of brands, especially makeup brands, know how to tap into this so well. Urban Decay definitely does this, and they have a hacks highlight on their Instagram profile. For Fenty Beauty, Priscilla Ono, who is the head makeup artist for Fenty Beauty, she does a lot of the tutorials on how to use all of the Fenty products. And as a Fenty Beauty buyer, I always go to the Instagram feed because it's kind of like my guide, my handbook for how I use these products. So in a way, use your stories as your audience's handbook, with giving them how-tos, infographics, and tutorials. Next, free downloadables are always great. So if there's anything that your brand can provide to your audience in terms of free downloadables, for us, we do that a lot in terms of like content calendars, schedulers, worksheets, all that, we give it to you for free. And that's something that gets shared around. It's something that gives value to our audiences for free. I mean, even this webinar is something that's valuable content. We do it every month and we do it for free. So that's how we keep our audience engaged. So if that applies to your brand too, then definitely do it. Next, interactive content. So if there is anything, the one thing that I love about stories is that Instagram has applied all these interactive stickers. So not just the questions that you can use for like an AMA or for an advice column kind of content series, but if you use the poll sticker, or if you use the emoji slider sticker, now there's the quiz sticker that actually you can put in 4 questions within your stories, or sorry, 4 answers for 1 question within your stories and poll your audience. Or no, actually, it's not even a poll, it's a quiz, which is even more fun because like, you're hoping that you'll get the right answer. So make your stories as interactive as possible. I mean, don't go crazy, because sometimes it could get a little bit repetitive and might get a little bit overboard, but use it wisely, use it where it applies to, and then you'll see that your audience will actually start engaging. I will say one thing though, for us, like when we do our AMAs, we'll prep our audience to know when our AMAs are going to be scheduled. So we do them every Monday or Tuesday, I believe. So we're training our audience to know when we're doing our AMAs. With the question sticker, I feel like people are a little less responsive than, of course, like a yes or no question or a quick poll or even a quiz, because people actually have to think about what they're asking. And sometimes when we're on Instagram or we're scrolling, we're kind of on the go. So we don't really feel like, oh, I need to think about this question and write it out, so I'm just going to sit here. So I feel like with questions, you might get a little less engagement. Keep that in mind. But with that in mind, go ahead and use the yes or like the 2-question poll. So if it is a yes or no, or between 2 choices, the quiz or the emoji slider, use those to your advantage and make your content really interactive. So next we'll go into mapping out a plan for your stories. For me, when I'm planning out my content, it's crucial to me to know how my content has performed previously. So if you do have an Instagram business account, you have access to your, maybe, actually, let me go to our questions. They feel like sometimes people ask about the business. Oh wait, Can you guys hear me? I heard heard that I was on, or somebody said that I was on mute. Okay, okay, sorry. Okay, awesome. So I always feel like I'm gonna get this question because people are always a little bit skeptical about business accounts. Ooh, 1 second, I'm trying to minimize this. Here we go. So with business accounts, there's this myth that you are going to get lower engagement if you switch to a business account. That is a myth. That is not true at all. You have to focus on creating amazing content. And if you're creating amazing content, then your engagement will stay even higher than you expected, or it should stay the same. It shouldn't, switching to a business account will not affect your engagement or how many people you reach. That is a myth. A lot of people say this. I don't know why, but I think it's attributed to the type of content that you're creating. That's what it comes down to. Instagram isn't gonna like penalize you for switching over to a business account. Because with a business account, you have a much deeper view at how your content is performing. So when you're actually mapping out your content strategy for stories, it's important to look at your insights. It's important to keep track of all the stories that you're posting and seeing how they're actually, how they're performing. My key, big tip is to use a KPI sheet, a key performance indicator sheet. So if you go to the Planoly blog and just put in our search bar KPI, we have a downloadable KPI sheet that will allow you to track all of your stats, not just for Instagram stories, but for your feed. And you'll see track down different factors that actually make up how your content is performing. So a few things to keep to keep an eye on, especially when you're writing out your KPI sheet, is replies. So how many people have replied to your stories or your Instagram posts, your impressions. So how many people have looked at your stories or your posts, your link clicks. So this for stories is how many people have for link clicks, this is actually how many people have clicked the link in your bio. Next, the profile visits, how many people have gone to your profile after seeing your content on their feed or seeing your story. The reach, so this is how many people your content has actually reached. The difference between reach and impressions, the reach is, for example, so for impressions, you have 150 people. That's you have 150 impressions, but your reach was 75. So that means out of those 75 people who was your reach, looked at your content 150 times, 150 times being the impression. So make sure that that's distinguished. Next, your shares. So you'll be able to see, and if you go to each content or piece of content under your, I wish I could show you. Actually, I can. Let's do this really quick, and I'll show you. Because I definitely want you guys to see how you can look at your stats if you don't have a business account. So let me just switch over. Share. Okay. Can you guys see my phone? I hope so. No? Okay. Oh no, let's see. How about now? I hope you're able to see my phone. Let's see the chat. Okay, awesome. So I'm glad you can see my phone. So this is my Instagram account. This is my personal one. So if you, once you go to your feed and you tap on a post, I have a business account because with a business account on Planoly, you can do auto post. So I love auto post, so that's why I switched to a business account, and I can see my insights and I can definitely see how my content's performing. So for example, I want to see this, the insights on this post. You'll tap on view insights and you will see all of your engagement as a whole. So let me draw on this. So this is all your likes. These are how many comments you got. This is how many shares. That little kind of looks like a paper plane. That's how many shares. And this is your saves. This is how many people have saved it. I wish you could see who saved it, because I'm very interested in knowing who saves this post 15 times. But you can definitely see all that. And you can see how many people visited your profile after seeing this post. And of course, your reach. I have, how many followers do I have? 1,658. And based on those insights, that's more than a half. So you can, when you're writing out your KPI sheet, you have to do the math on understanding like your percentage. So for example, I don't know the math off my top of my head, but if you were to divide 1076 over 1,590 something, you would get whatever that decimal is, and then multiply it times 100, and then you will see your percentage on reach. And this is all broken down in that KPI sheet. It is the KPI glossary. I saw some people were asking about the link to that KPI sheet, and I will send it to you guys after this webinar. Or if not, you can just go to the Planoly blog and just type in KPI on the search bar and it'll show up. But let's clear this out, clear all drawings, and we'll switch to the other webinar. So I hope that clarifies. No, there we go. Okay. Yes, thank you, Nicole. Yeah, that's the link. And for stories, let me see. Boop, boop, boop. For stories, you can definitely dive into that too. So let me switch back to my phone. And for Mallory, I'll actually go ahead and I'll send the formula shortly. So give me a second, but let me share my phone again and I'll show you how. So these are my stories right now. And also, can you guys see my phone? Can you see it? No? Oh, man. There we go. Oh, come in. Oh. I'm not sure why my phone's not sharing now. Here we go. Okay. So these are my stories. Hopefully you can see it. Still no? Okay. Let's see. Where was my phone? Oop. Sorry guys, usually this is a little easier. Let's stop sharing. Okay. Oh, here we go. Okay, can you guys see my phone now? I hope you can. No. Yes, okay, no. Oh, darn it. I just had it. Black screen. Oh man. Okay. Sorry guys. Sometimes this like works a little bit easier, but I'm not sure. Oh, here we go. How about now? Okay, perfect. I just need one more person to tell me that they can see it. Let's see. Okay. I think I'm switching. I'm trying to like see the chat box and trying to see my phone. So I hope that you guys can see this. But these are my stories. And so when usually you'll see like the people who view your stories, but if you tap the little graph at the far left, you'll see your interactions, you'll see your discovery, so how many accounts you reach with a story, the impressions, follows, navigation. Navigation, I feel, I'm still unclear on that, so let me get back to you on that. But you'll see, oh, actually, sorry. Navigation is broken down based on people go back to your story, move forward, go to the next story, or exit out of your story. So this is all the breakdown on all your stats on your stories, and it applies for every single story that you post. You can't see shares, you can't, let's see. Cancel. Oh yeah, this one would be if you wanted to boost your Instagram post, but you'll see all the stats right there. So that you can take all these stats and put them into your KPI sheet, and you can really see like, okay, if you got, 5 replies from a story, like that was a really engaging story. Why was it? Because of that. Is it, so if you see like, okay, for me, this is probably one of my most interactive, or yeah, one of my most interactive stories. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to post more stories like this one because it asks the question. So when you think of, let's go back. So Gay, you said, how do you get this screen for stories? You have to get an Instagram, you have to switch over to being a Instagram business account. Once you have an Instagram business account, then you'll be able to get all these stats for your Instagram posts, for your Instagram stories. And when you swipe up on your stories to see like the people that follow you, or at least like are viewing your stories, then if you tap on the little graph at the far left, you'll see all the stats for your stories. Okay, cool, you got it. Yeah, just swipe up and then tap on the graph and you'll see all your analytics on that. So that clarifies. Let's see. Okay, cool. Yay, I'm glad you got it, Gay. Cool, let's go back to the webinar. But yeah, just keep track of all these, key indicators. And once you see that there's like certain pieces of content that actually have a spike in all these, indicators, then okay, I need to start creating more content like this. But that doesn't mean that you have to dismiss the types of pieces of content that actually don't perform well, because you actually want to pinpoint those too. So if I know that, I posted a piece of content that either didn't get any engagement, got hella exits, like a great indicator for stories, especially if it did bad, was the amount of exits out of it. So not the next story. They're based on the navigation stats. If you see there's a lot of exits, definitely keep track of that, because then that will let you know, like, hey, red flag, this was actually kind of like a bad piece of content to post, didn't give any engagement, or actually turned off people, so I'm not going to post content like that. Keep track of those, and it'll actually help you map out your strategy when you're actually creating your content strategy and seeing, okay, I need to create better content. I know what I need to do. I know what I don't need to do. And then you'll start creating even better content than that. So one great thing is storyboarding. So the one thing with creating stories is that it is kind of like, for music videos and films, whatever it may be, cartoons, people are always doing storyboards. That's how they plan out what scene by scene is going to be, what the storyline is going to be, and you have a visual representation of what that's going to be before you actually start shooting content and filming content, creating all this content. It'll save you so much time when you actually plan out what your story is going to be. So Last month at South by Southwest, we had Regine, which she's the co-founder and community manager of a local-based it's a platform called Collective Blue, and she gave an amazing keynote on how to create storytellings for brands. So one great thing that she said is, what is the overarching story that you're trying to get across? Deep understanding of your audience and how to reach them, who needs to hear your story, what do they care about, what matters to them, and how are they going to hear your story? So it's very, very important when you are actually planning out your story that you will leave your audience wanting to watch to the very end what the entire story is going to be from beginning to end. You don't want them to exit. You don't want them to, move to the next story. You don't want to tap through. You want to keep them engaged. So plan out your story and see how it'll fit in an entire narrative into 7 to 9 stories, what each of those 15 seconds within the entire story will deliver, and how it will look as an entire package delivering one cohesive message. And the reason why I say 7 to 9 stories, this is kind of like the prime number you want to keep your stories at. Because to be honest, and I don't know about you, how many times you go through your stories and you'll see somebody who posted probably, I don't even know how many, because the little dashes at the top aren't even dashes anymore. They're dots. And it's just like, I'm not going to spend 30 minutes of my day watching a story that could have been narrowed down into 7 to 9 stories. So unless it's like, I've seen some people do that where they're doing some storytelling or like actually like talking about like a live situation, but it's very, very rare. Like you'll still end up with like people exiting out, and the minute people see so many stories at the top, no, like people will just exit out, keep the story very clear, concise, and short, and you'll still be able to deliver amazing content, engaging content that people will want to come back to. So we actually have a storyboard worksheet. We actually posted on the blog today. If you go to the Planoly blog, it's the last post that we posted, but the link is right here. If you go to plano.ly /stories webinar worksheet, we have a storyboard worksheet for you, and it breaks down everything that you need to ask, all the questions you need to ask yourself when you're actually creating, a story set. When you're actually storyboarding, everything you need to ask yourself to make sure that you're actually creating engaging stories. And I think I have it. No, I don't. But it's just a very simple worksheet that will walk you through everything that you need to know when you're actually creating stories. So when you're actually planning everything out, then you know when you need to go out in the field and actually shoot content or film content, or if you're doing like a takeover with somebody, you're letting them know what they need to record and know what you need to post once you're ready to either upload to StoriesEdit or to Planoly. So feel free to download it. It's free. It's a whole worksheet that I went ahead and wrote up for you guys. So it should definitely help you out when you're actually planning out your stories and doing really great storyboarding. So once you're ready, you can go ahead and import your stories from StoriesEdit. So once you've mapped out everything, you've shot your content, you're ready to make it look beautiful, then we can go ahead and add it into StoriesEdit. And I'll give you guys a live demo. I know you guys had a few questions, but this will be a really quick rundown. So the way it works, you just choose a template from one of our designer selections. So if you once you go to the app, you'll see all of our templates. You choose a template, and then you customize your stories with 3 editing tools, our text tool, our shapes tool, and our background tool. And once you're done, you just go ahead and save your designs either to your phone, post directly to Instagram, or upload to Planoly to plan your stories. So when you're selecting a template, we have so many templates that you can choose from. We even have little templates that you can actually create as your highlights buttons, highlights covers. So we have those, and we also have like those little interactive quizzes that you can just go ahead and share to your stories and circle which ones, kind of like Instagram stories bingo, that are really fun. And then next, you customize your stories with our 3 tools. So like I mentioned, the text tool is just the little T button, and you can click on any text and fix everything from the font, the size, boldness, the kerning, the line spacing, all of that, a text font, we have all that for you. And then the shape tool, so you can add little design elements. So if you wanted to add a button, or even like a see more call to action for them to swipe up at, or even tap at the bottom, because now with the iPhone 10 you can't swipe up because if it'll exit you out of the phone, of the app. So do the tap to see more. And also the color, background color, so you can customize the background color to fit your aesthetics or your brand guide. So you can do that in 2 different ways. So we do have a select row of colors that you can choose from, or if you know the hex codes for your brand, then you can go ahead and type in the hex code that you prefer to use. Fairly easy, and once you're done, you can go ahead and save the design to your phone, post it directly to Instagram, or upload to Planoly to plan your stories. So when you're uploading to Planoly, you either choose, once you're importing from StoriesEdit to Planoly, once you're in Planoly, it'll say if you want to import the story, import to stories or import to grid. Then you'll select which stories you want to go ahead and upload. And once you're uploaded, they'll show up on your stories planner. And one thing to note is that the first story will be the one that you're first uploading, and then it's followed by chronological order from there. Not like the grid where the first one at the bottom is the ones that's going to get scheduled first, because that's how the grid, it works from the bottom up. For stories, it's from the first to the chronological order that you want to arrange them in. So when you're adding stories to your Planoly stories queue, we've made it even easier because we just did an amazing update to our app and web. So we've been introducing our stories bar. So the stories bar makes stories even more visual to you right from the grid, instead of having to go to your stories planner, the little S at the top left corner. So with the stories bar, you can actually see what set of stories is up in your queue. So you can go ahead and upload either right from the add story button and then add whatever story you want to put, or you can tap the StoriesEdit button and then go to StoriesEdit to customize whatever template you're going to put, and then upload it back up to Planoly. And then, like I mentioned, this is just one way to make it even more visual to you. Just like Instagram, you can see your stories at the top, like at the top of your Instagram grid or feed. But the stories button is also a great way to see your stories ahead of time. So you tap the top left S, the little S at the top left corner. You can upload right from here, from your stories planner, and arrange all your stories at a glance. Of course, like the first one being the first post to post, and the last one being the last one to post. So once you tap on a story, you can add your caption, any links that you may include with the story, any handles, any notes that you want to give yourself. So if it's making sure that you're telling yourself, okay, this needs to be a poll, has to have an interactive poll. So the interactive poll needs to have this question and these 2 answers. This is where you would give yourself all those notes, so that way when you're ready to upload, you know exactly what you're going to post at what day and time. And another great way, because I don't know if you guys knew this, you can actually add multi-stories to Instagram stories. So it's not just a matter of going to your grid or going to your phone, uploading one, uploading it, the next one, uploading it, next one, uploading it. You can do it all at once. It'll save you like so much time. So once you have the set of stories that you need to upload, say if you already made a set through StoriesEdit, you have like a set of 4 stories, you just upload them straight to to Planoly, and select all the ones that you want. Say I went ahead and uploaded these right here. And then if you see there's a little blue button on the content, that once you select that, that will make it a multi-post. So it'll upload everything as a pack and not individually. So when it's time to schedule, all of your stories will download right to your phone, and you'll have to select them on Instagram at once, instead of having to upload them one by one. So yeah, and once you see your stories pack, you'll see them on your stories grid, and you'll see that any stories pack will have that little kind of like 2 papers overlaid over each other. That is the indicator that that's a stories pack that you're going to upload at once, rather than one piece of content one by one. And then using the stories drafts. Actually, how many of you guys, raise your hand if, or yeah, raise your hand if you're familiar with our drafts feature. Because I feel like I'm always running into people that don't use the story or our drafts feature as much. Just a few. Okay, great. For those that already use it, awesome. Like you're already maximizing your content. You already know how to make your life easier. But for those that you're not familiar, we do have a drafts feature. So with the drafts feature, this is the way for you to organize all your content without having to see it on your feed, be it on your grid or your actual story. So if you're creating, say, you know that you're going to be creating a pack for May, but you don't want it on your scheduler at all. You don't want it on your planner yet, but you want to keep it on your drafts. Once you can go ahead and upload that content to your drafts. It's kind of like a folder. And you can go ahead, put it there. You know that you're eventually going to come back to it, but it's just a way to keep it there and keep it organized. So that way you don't have a bunch of content like cluttering up your queue. So once you're ready to upload, you can go ahead and select that story or story pack from your drafts. You go ahead and select it, and you'll choose if you either want to delete it or move it to your grid. Once you move to your grid, you either move it to your drafts or your stories. And then from there, then it goes back to your actual scheduler. So that way you're not thinking like, oh, I need to just like save it on my laptop or I need to save it on my phone. You can just save it on Planoly, create a drafts folder for it. And then once you're ready to put it to or schedule it or actually add it to your grid or your stories planner, then you're good to go. But that's pretty much it. With that, you're pretty much ready to start planning out your stories using Planoly and StoriesEdit. But let me give you guys a quick demo. Let me go to the questions first. Let's see. I've had a lot of questions, which is great. I always love questions. Okay. I'll have to sort through the questions because there's like a few, but don't worry I know that we're getting close to our time, but if you guys do have to leave, I will be putting a replay on YouTube. It should be out this Friday. So if you weren't able to see all of this or stay, past 1:30, then we'll go ahead and put the webinar up. And we'll also be doing a recap on the Planoly blog of this webinar. So you'll have everything, all the links, all of the formulas, everything. We'll have it for you. So no worries. You don't have to stress out and think like, oh, I'm not going to get this webinar or anything. But let me give you a quick demo of, let's see. I'll give you guys a quick demo of StoriesEdit. Where'd it go? Okay. I think I'm sharing my screen. I hope so. So this is StoriesEdit. Sorry, let me opt out. So this is StoriesEdit. Fairly easy to use. You just, like I mentioned earlier, you can select from any of our stories. Actually, before I move forward, I want to make sure that I'm actually showing you my screen because this happened last time. Can you guys see my phone? Okay, great. So you can select from any of our stories. So say I want to go ahead and add this one. You would just go ahead and tap the story, select from your album. So I'm just going to go ahead and select this one. You can go ahead and tap any part. So say I want to go ahead and change this brown because I don't like this brown. I'm going to change it to a mint because it feels more cohesive with the flowers. And then I'm probably going to change this little pink outline because I don't like it that much. So I'm gonna make it green as well. So you just have to tap on that line. If say you wanted the background color to be a different, you just tap on the areas that you want to change the color. So say I wanted to do like a pink, too much, no. You can just switch around. And what's cool is that say if I don't like any of these colors, then I can just go ahead and add in the code for the hex code that I know that I'm going to use, that my brand is, you know, affiliate, or like that's designed for my brand. So this is at the bottom, the the hex code keyboard. It is limited characters because these are the only characters that apply to a hex code. There's no other letter beyond F for a hex code. So you would just type it in here and then save. So I'm just gonna leave it at this. Once you're editing your text, you just tap on the text. So let's see, sent with love, because it's like flowers in an envelope. So here we go in to change our text. You can choose from any of our fonts here. So I'm gonna do Fiber and I'm gonna use all caps. If I wanted to change the spacing, then I'm gonna do the T button and actually, sorry, that's the font size. So the T button at the bottom is the font size. So you'll just, you know, move it around however font size you want. The next one, it is the kerning. So that's how the spacing for the letters. So if you wanted super wide or super narrow, all up to you. I'm gonna keep it there. Next one is the line height. So that is the spacing between both lines. So if I wanted a little bit spaced out like that, cool. And then if I wanted to change the font color, then I just do the eyedropper tool, and I'm gonna do the green that I've been using with everyone, all of the entire feed. And I'm gonna go ahead and change my line height a little bit. So doing it there. And you can move everything around. Like literally as soon as you tap on it, you can just move it around. So I'm just gonna keep it centered there. And then I'll just leave this copy here. It's just like a lorem ipsum type text, but you can fix anything that you want, like whatever you want, you fix it. Now that I tapped on it, let's see, on the blog, swipe up to read more. And another cool thing is our text tools. Our shape tool. So that's the one in the center, this little shapes. So if I wanted to do a, if I wanted this text to be on a button, I'm gonna go ahead and add the button, and you can change for whatever color you want. I'm gonna do this like dusty rose one. And once you're tapped on it, you'll see this little kind of like drag tool, and that's like you can kind of space it out to whatever shape you want. You can make it like an oval. You can just make it whatever shape you want. I'm gonna do it like this. I'm gonna move my text over here, and I'm gonna have this guy right here. I'm gonna edit the text font on this guy. And no, I didn't want that font. So now that I have this, I'm gonna put it here. And if you want to center it too, you can do that. We have that centering. It's like a little bit spaced out, but like that. You can create like any type of button and just customize it to whatever way you want. That's what's really cool about it. And once you're ready, you actually want to see how it looks for how it's going to look on your grid. You tap the right top button, and then you can see how it's going to look. If I wanted to add another one, you just add the plus button at the bottom, and then you can select from any of the other templates and say, I want this one. I'm going to change the color on this one to match the green that I used, and then upload another photo. Let's see, I'm going to use this guy. And then from there, you can just like continue adding as many as you want. And once you're ready to upload, you'll press the little arrow, and then you'll save. So you can either save to your phone, share to Instagram, or upload to Planoly. So we're gonna go ahead and upload to Planoly. Saving media. And here it'll show import content. So I'm going to post it to my, my own feed. So I'm going to import it to Stories. And like I mentioned earlier, you can upload multi-posts. So if you see this little guy right here, this guy, nope, this guy right here, that's the one that you're going to tap when you're actually going to upload a multi-post. So it's going to be a multi, and I'm going to go ahead and upload. And you will see now that on my feed, my story scheduler, it's that post. How do I clear my drawings? Okay, you'll see that this is the multi-post that I've scheduled for Stories. So once you tap on it, you will see that both of these stories have are there ready to be uploaded. It's just up to me to, if I wanted to add any handles that I want to tag, any links that I wanted to do for swipe up, anything like that. This would be where I'm going to go ahead and post. So now let's go through the motions of actually uploading to Instagram. So now I want to say I scheduled it. I'm going to schedule it for today at 12:45, but it's 12:45, so I'm just going to go ahead and post now, or post now. So I'm going to go ahead and post in my story. I'll go back to my Instagram. And here I will go, so now you see everything. So forget that I even had these because they were uploaded to my phone. What you're going to do when you're uploading multi, you're going to select this guy right here. This is your multi-post when you're doing stories on Instagram. So you're going to go ahead and select, sorry. You're going to go ahead and select that guy. And when the first one you select is going to be your first story, and then the next one is going to be your second story. Once you're ready to upload all of those, then you're going to go ahead and select next, and you will see that, that's new. Let's tell people about your call to action. That's pretty new. So here you will see that both of your stories are uploaded. Don't think that because you can see your stories at the bottom that you can swap them out. If you want to rearrange the order, you're going to have to go back and select which one's going to be the first one. But because this is the because that one's the first one that I had set, it's the first one that Instagram is going to upload. And again, like I mentioned, always make sure to use the interactive tools. So if it is like the quiz, the poll, the questions, the emoji slider, use those to make your stories more interactive. I think when you're designing your stories on StoriesEdit, make sure to leave some space for interactive stickers. So for example, I want to do a poll. Are you excited? Yes or no? Done. Done. And you can go ahead and scale this and put it to your stories where you feel, oh, I wish that you could put this black. You can't really see it, but you can play around with it. So I'm just going to go ahead and pick the color that I've been using and use that as like a background. You can just like play around with it and get creative. That's like what's really fun about this. So once you're ready to upload, you move on to the next one and add whatever, text or interactive stickers or GIFs. And then once you're done to next, then you choose if you're going to go ahead and share it to your story or your close friends, wherever it may be. And that's pretty much it. You're good to go. Let's go back to, all right. All right. Let me go to your questions. All right. So Nina, is there a way to use our brand font? So we are limited to the fonts that we have on StoriesEdit right now. We just have, I think it's like 6 fonts that we have. We will be adding new fonts. So if there's like a certain font that you want us to use or would like to make a request for, then feel free to let us know. We can see if we can try to make that happen. But right now we're limited on the fonts that we have. We had very like simple fonts that everyone can use. Can you upload videos as well as photo files in StoriesEdit? Not yet, but it is something that we are going to be doing very soon, this coming month. So keep an eye out for that, and we're really excited about that update. For the tap for more, that is only allowed for Instagram accounts that are verified or accounts that are above 10K followers. So if you don't have that, it's not something you can use. However, make sure to make use of your link in bio. We also have a feature here at Planoly called Shop Link that you can make your entire Instagram clickable by putting just one link in your bio. So just letting your audience know that if you're directing them to a specific link based on one Instagram post, then you can use Shop Link and do that. It is an additional feature. So definitely try out Shop Link and see how it works for you. What is a trick to tapping on the small outlines in StoriesEdit to change the color? I can change the backgrounds. So if you just tap on the line, you just have to tap on the line and it'll change. Whatever lines, outlines, just go ahead and tap on it and you can select the color for that. So what is the caption area in Stories uploaded to Planoly? So that is when the caption area, that's for any text that you want to go ahead and put on your stories. So say if you want to go ahead and once you're uploading to Planoly, that's what gets copied from whatever you uploaded to Planoly into your stories. So that way, once you're already planning on stories, you just paste whatever you have set in your caption notes, and then you can go ahead and edit whatever way you want within Instagram stories. Will you be adding a feature to help align the text and shapes guidelines to ensure? Yes, we will very soon. We're working on that. So keep an eye out for that. I'm waiting for that too, because it's like playing with my eyes when I'm trying to like plan out my my content. How do you get Shop Link? Shop Link, it is, if you're going into your settings, you will see that there is an option to add Shop Link as an additional feature. So it is an additional, I believe $40 a month if you do have a monthly plan. But it's well worth it, honestly, because if you're trying to drive more traffic back to your site or wherever you're trying to drive, especially if you're using affiliate links, then that is the great way to use a Shop Link. It definitely makes your Instagram 10 times more powerful. Nikki, the colors, I can only change one. It doesn't matter where I click. So if you're trying to tap the borders, like if you just tap the border, it should change. If not, feel free to email me and then I can see why it's not working for you, but it should be working. Adriana, also a way to bundle stories into folders and save them onto Stories app so we can go back and edit them later on. Yes, you can go ahead and bundle your stories into folders. So you don't have to just like add one story to your folder. You can go ahead and bundle your stories into folders. So once you're like ready to add them back to your planner or to your grid, then you can go ahead and do that. And if you are, say if you like uploaded a graphic and you don't want it anymore, you can definitely swap them out. Everything is swappable that's planned on Planoly or Stories Planner. You can definitely do that. You don't have to stick to whatever you uploaded. Did you say that Shop Link works in stories if you have less than 10K? Yes, Shop Link is available for everyone. One person that you can definitely look at that's using it really well is Refinery29. They use Shop Link for driving all the content back to refinery29.com. So they have one link in their bio, and whichever of their posts on their feed are clickable or drive to a certain piece of content, then they apply that to Shop Link and they'll drive more traffic back to it. So they're a great example. I definitely would recommend looking at Refinery29. Cool. So I'm going to go ahead and go into the questions because so many of you guys have questions. Okay. So Anonymous said, how do we see polls? I think you were talking about Instagram stories, but the polls feature is fairly new. I think it just rolled out last week, if not a week and a half ago. So if you don't have it, when you swipe up and you're editing your stories, don't fret. I'm pretty sure that Instagram is rolling it out little by little. That's usually what they do with most of their new features. So keep an eye out for that. But just when you're editing, just swipe up and you'll see it as part of one of your interactive stickers on stories. So Brittany said, wondering if there's a way to save your colors in StoriesEdit so you don't have to reset your colors every time you create a set. Great idea. Honestly, like this is something that somebody had mentioned in the past webinar that we did last month, and it's something that we're looking to do. So I know the whole point of using StoriesEdit is to save you time. And especially if you're a brand, you already know what hex codes you're using for your brand. You should already have them as like your preset colors. So definitely working on that. Let's see. So Kristen said, we'll love some ideas and best practices for stories takeovers for brands. Funny enough, we just posted a whole worksheet on how to create stories takeovers for brands. We do it on a regular basis here at Planoly. So if you go to the Planoly blog, we have a whole breakdown on how to do that. It's super helpful because the whole point of doing stories takeovers, if you're inviting, a professional, like an expert that can speak on something that's valuable for your audience, then you need to give them the guidelines to create content that's actually aligned with your brand. Of course, you're going to be selecting somebody that's aligned with your brand, but sometimes the content that they may create may be different from what your standard is for your brand. So we have a whole worksheet on that. It's very important for me, especially when you're doing stories takeovers, is one, knowing what your audience wants. So really tuning into any of the questions that your audience may have. If it is something like the comments, your DMs, even if you're offering a product and they're, emailing you about customer service, anything like that, you want to really hone in on those questions and provide content for that. And again, with our stories takeover kind of like guidebook, you will definitely see how you can definitely, put those best practices in place. But for us, what we do our Planner Leader series, and we align our blog post interviews with our Planner Leaders, and then ask them to give us like a quick, 5 to 6 story walkthrough of their everyday life and how they work. So that way, we're putting a face to the person that we're interviewing, and get to see a more in-person, interactive, real type of content from them. So I hope that helps. So Caitlin asked, can you tag accounts and schedule stories? Unfortunately, you can't, but this is where you would use the comments, the comment text tool, where you would put any notes of who you're going to tag, who you're going to talk to, or anything that that you need to put within your stories. This is where you would put it, so that way it gets pasted onto your stories. There's no auto post for stories. We don't have ability for that. So when you're actually manually uploading to stories, you'll know exactly who you need to tag without having to remember. You already have it in your notes. So I hope that helps. A lot of these questions I've already answered, so I'm just scrolling through them. Okay, Christy, will you go into the best way to record and post a story? I used to be able to just talk and record and then post, but now it's only one at a time. And I find it hard to remember where I left off, so it's not choppy and cut off sounding. Actually, my best trick is to just upload. So I know that some people have this feature on Instagram stories where you're able to just hold the phone and continue recording beyond the 15 seconds and Instagram will split it for you. I don't have that feature yet. So what I do, I record a video from my actual phone, and then I'll upload it to Instagram, and Instagram will actually cut it for you into 15 seconds. You don't have to constantly be recording through Instagram stories. You can just upload a video that you've already recorded. It can be, let's say 15, less than a minute, and Instagram will cut it for you. So that way nothing gets choppy. It's just very fluid. So that's my recommendation. I hope that helps. Okay, so Cassie, I love that you're offering an option to plan out stories and schedule them. I always use Unfold and it's become a brand visual we really love. Are we to upload those to Planoly or does it need to be made in your internal system? You can upload any type of content to Planoly. It doesn't have to be specific to, you know, our, StoriesEdit. You can upload any picture, video, whatever it may be from any app. We actually have a Visco extension. So if you're editing on Visco and you want to upload your Visco content to Planoly, then you can go ahead and use this share extension and go ahead and upload to Planoly. So whatever content you have on your phone, on your desktop, you can go ahead and upload to Planoly. Okay, so Kristen had a few, Caitlin had a few questions. Using the swipe up links in the scheduler and locations too. I think that's what you said. Yeah. Oh, sorry, Amanda, I'm answering your question. In Planoly StoriesEdit, how to add to a story already posted on your feed. How to add to a story already posted on your feed. If it's already on your feed, then you don't have to worry about it. Like, you don't have to. Oh, I think I already know. I think I know what you're saying. Like, when you're actually wanting to add somebody's post on your feed, you can't do that with StoriesEdit. You're only planning out your own content. So any content that you shot that's on your phone, there's nothing from Instagram. Like, say if I wanted to reshare something from Refinery 29 or Planoly on my own stories, you can't do that, unfortunately. But that's just all done within Instagram. And Caitlin, you had asked if you can add swipe up links in the scheduler and locations. So these are all, you can definitely add the links. This is where you would actually put it in the link button when you're uploading to stories. If you do have 10,000 followers or you're verified, you can go ahead and paste whatever link you're going to be posting to your story. For locations, you will have to give yourself notice of what location that is, because that's all within the Instagram UI. You would have to actually like swipe up, click the location button, type in the location, and then put that in. It's not automatic, so all that has to be done within Instagram. Okay, almost done with all the questions. Okay. Let's see, okay, Dora, can you see who watched your story in Planoly Analytics after 24 hours, or only data is how many? You can't see, and so right now we don't have capabilities on seeing your story analytics within Planoly. You can see your content like within your grid and see all the analytics there, but I definitely recommend switching over to a business account on Instagram, because then you'll see all those analytics within your post, the post that you're posted. Unfortunately, after 24 hours, you can't see who saw your stories. So Instagram will just give you an overview of how many people saw it, but you won't see a breakdown of who saw it. So just to keep in mind. Okay, let's see. If you guys have any more questions, all right. Oh, there's definitely more questions. So you asked how to add, show again in StoriesEdit how to add interactive elements and such as stickers. Leanna, you can't add interactive elements on StoriesEdit. What I had mentioned earlier is leaving a space within like when you're actually creating a story within StoriesEdit, and leave a space for when you're actually uploading to Instagram to upload or to add like interactive stickers, either a poll, question, whatever it may be. So when you're designing these stories, keep in mind all the interactive stickers that you could use, which is very important. That's why it's very important to use the storyboard to know what each of your stories is going to have. So when you're actually filming your stories, creating your stories, designing your stories on StoriesEdit, you know exactly what you need to keep in mind or designed for when you're uploading to Instagram. So I hope that clarifies. Camilla, can you upload your own templates on StoriesEdit? I love the way the templates work, but not much for video. We don't, you can't upload your own templates. We just have our own that you can just do within, you like edit as you go. But again, these templates are just templates. You can design them in any way you want. And if you use the story, you follow us on StoriesEdit on Instagram, you can see many before and afters of how these like templates were transformed. These are just kind of like bare bones for you to kind of get inspiration into how you can create them for your brand. So it's not, you don't have to stick to the colors, the lines, the shapes or whatever. It's all, you have creative control. You can make it to however way you want. And hopefully, now that I'm thinking of it, maybe like if you create your own template, then you can just save it as you want, and then that's something that you use. That's just an idea I came up with. I can tell our team. But yeah, these are all up to your control. You design them the way you want. Brooke, what do you think about sharing your post from your feed in stories and then covering the pics so they have to click on the post? I've seen some people do it. I feel like it's mixed because some people are like, I already saw it, so I don't care. But I think some people, like, I don't know, sometimes I click on it because when I haven't seen it and it's so covered that I'm kind of interested. What I will say, you have to give me more incentive than being like, new post, and then like putting a GIF that covers it. Like, what's gonna make me want to click it? So it's kind of like you have to have like that clickbait mentality of what's gonna make me want to click your post and want to go see it. So definitely try out like how you're using your call to actions and see if that helps you drive more content. And look at your stats. If it's actually driving more drives back to your site, then by all means, continue doing it. That's your strategy that's working for you, do it. I mean, if it's working for you, why stop doing it? Aline, what does that mean to have a verified account for the swipe up? How do you get verified? So you can actually apply for verification on Instagram. I think with when you actually go into your settings, you can go, if you go, let's see. When you go to your settings and you see, I think it's account. Yeah, you go to account. So you go to your settings, then you go to account, and you go to request verification. This form will pop out, and I don't know if you can see this. Instagram will tell you they need your name, your full name known as, and the category for your account, along with you need to upload a picture ID. Your picture ID must match your name on your Instagram account, so not your handle, but the way that you've typed out your name on your Instagram account, and you can apply for verification there. I've applied for verification. I never got approved, so it's up to Instagram. There's no trick to getting verified. You just have to be patient with them, and if you don't, then that's okay. All it is, it's a blue check mark. Like, if anything, it's probably, I would say maybe it's a little bit easier to get 10,000 followers than getting a blue check mark. So work on creating great content and get yourself to 10,000 followers if you can. So it's just like a blue check mark, really. Like, that's all it is. So don't worry about all that. Cool. I hope I answered a lot of your guys' questions. I know we're already ran over 30 minutes, but if I wasn't able to answer any of your questions during the webinar, please feel free to email me. I will put my email up next. So you can email me at priscilla@planoly.com. I'm an open book to you guys. please let me know your thoughts on StoriesEdit, Planoly, our new story bar. StoriesEdit is free to download, so you don't have to like have an additional fee for anything. It's all free for you to use. And again, follow me on Instagram. I can answer you there. And follow us on Planoly and StoriesEdit. We're more than happy to answer any of your questions there. And again, we do these webinars every month. So next, the last Tuesday of every month. So we'll be having one in May. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, thanks so much, everybody. I hope that you can join us next month. And again, I hope I answered any of your questions. And hopefully after this, you'll have a much clearer kind of alignment with your stories planning. I'll be sending over the links that I mentioned within the webinar, of course, the formula for engagement and finding out everything with engagement. And would love to hear your feedback. If there's anything that you want us to cover next time or want us to do better, we want to hear it. We're here for you. So thanks so much, guys, and hopefully see you next month. Bye. Oh, and also stay tuned for YouTube on Friday. This will be the recap. The recap will be on YouTube and on the blog. So, cool. Thanks, guys.